Control, this is Agent Dev. I'm in position.
Copy that, Dev. Stand by for go.
Standing by.
Hey, everybody, welcome. You've joined us for another episode of Agents of Dev. I'm Mitch Ashley. I lead the software lifecycle engineering practice with Futurum Group, co-hosting this podcast with Brad Shimmin. Welcome, Brad. You are the practice lead of
data engineering, data intelligence, analytics, and infrastructure. I'm trying to grow beyond the basics because we're moving past all of those mundane use cases and job roles now.
Everything is engineering. We're all builders. We're all.
We're just intent shepherd. We're just shepherding intent.
Shepherds. Yes, there's a lot of truth to that. It is fascinating how, just my mind getting around what this change really is about. And it's just, I feel like I'm just starting to really grok it and grep it.
Well, I think you're ahead of the class then, sir, because
I don't know that.
I'm this week I'm at Microsoft FabCon and the first ever SQLCon, which I love the fact that we're actually starting up a conference in 2026 about SQL.
Oh, Renaissance Week. Okay.
It's brand new. Never been seen or tried before. Anyway, it is amazing to me just how much energy continues in our little industry around AI and in the midst of a complete lack of understanding of how it actually works.
Yes, I don't know, but it's going to be great. Right?
Exactly, right.
When we get there, we'll know it. Something like that.
Will we? I don't know.
Well, the target will have moved. That's the challenging part. That was the target.
Zeno's paradox, but you never get to the finish line because you're always just partly there and partly there.
It's journey. It's the journey for sure. Well, hey, let's do the call out segment. You want to kick that off?
Yeah, sure. So I try to keep my eye on the news while I'm on the road, which is never easy, but it did capture my attention, a small release by a certain data warehousing company called Snowflake. They rolled out a new product called Snow Work, which may sound somewhat familiar if you're familiar with Anthropic Claude Cowork, because it is literally the same idea, but envisioned and delivered within the ecosystem of Snowflake. And what's great about it, I mean, I think that you and I talk about this quite a bit, is agentic software development is really a bellwether and a pointer for where other markets are going to go. And I think that the things that we've learned about agentic development are now trickling into or avalanching into other aspects of like data practitioners. And so Snowflake is really, taking the idea from Anthropic and applying it to things like, having a conversation with your data that can take action, that can do things, and do things with a much more trust and belief in the data that you're actually looking at. Because, for those of you following at home, within the data space for quite some time now, you've been trying to be able to talk to data and have conversations with data. And that was, like through NLP and other type technologies, which forced you to know, exactly the names of the columns and whatnot when you typed your question, or it would be wrong. And we are apparently, hopefully, moving beyond that, and this is what we're seeing from Snowflake with their Snow Work.
The semantic layer. I know that's where you were going eventually.
It is exactly, it is big time at this conference, at the Microsoft conference that I'm at this week.
Is there do you sense just kind of a change in tenor, tone, where it's headed? Is like it's starting into something definitely different.
Yeah, I think that many of the problems that we used to face, such as building and maintaining data integration pipelines, is but one of many examples. We're starting to think of AI as a means to a layer of abstraction above that, such that, it's not just being able to automate it, because we could do that before, but it was brittle. These things were always breaking. And you would be perhaps not shocked to know how many companies currently rely on nightly, secure FTP uploads of CSV files to get stuff done.
Yes. Yeah. They aren't going
But
away anytime soon, but they may have agents
Well,
doing
they
it.
might not have to. I mean, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe,
Mm.
if you can have a non-deterministic system that can see the context that it's operating in and take action, as we talk about so often in the stuff we're working on, maybe you don't need to have somebody that's dedicated to keeping that thing running. Maybe it can be self-correcting. Maybe it can be, preemptive in alerting me to a problem that I might not even know is happening.
Mhm. I had not heard about snow work. Sounds
Snow
like
work.
what they do in the Colorado mountains when we do have snow. They have some
Too,
snow work to do.
unless it's yellow, and then you don't.
Yes, no, stay away from that. But there's enough territory there you can usually avoid that. Well, let's get this was NVIDIA GTC week, and
Yeah, yeah,
Nick Patience and I had a chance to do a report on that, and but you couldn't cover it. NVIDIA GTC is now the Steve Jobs announcement equivalent, where
yeah,
all the oxygen left out of the room. It was the event horizon of which nothing else was happening. But I think in this case, the difference is, and everyone else and their brother, sister, mother, and uncle are announcing something with that NVIDIA at the same time.
right.
They're riding
Riding
the
those
coattails.
coattails. Yeah,
Yeah, and a big time. It was really fascinating. But what caught my eye was, well, my ear was Jensen spent, I don't know, the first 45 minutes, maybe an hour, talking about software. He didn't talk
that
about
is
hardware.
really weird. Yeah,
He talked about
that's freaking me
software
out. Yeah,
and applications, and it's like, he got the memo about software's eating the world. Like, hey, that's very, in 19 whatever, was it
that is
12
still,
when or
yes,
20?
but still relevant.
Still relevant. And he went, of course, he went into the whole Neil Cloud. We'll get into that. But what jumped out to you about GTC?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. The first one, I think you and Nick probably wrote about, and I think if those of you who sort of know of our little ecosystem, perhaps watched one of our utilizing AI podcasts recently, where Nick and I chatted about the show, and he made note of the fact that Jensen sat down with a good number of very influential open source model makers. And, it is something that we as analysts have chided NVIDIA about in the past, mostly with regards to the, the software layer that sits between the GPU and the operating system.
Mhm.
That's not always been the most open, but you can see in what, Jensen's prioritization from this conference and this panel I'm talking about, just how critical the open source ecosystem is to NVIDIA, and how they want to support it. They see, for instance, that, in the United States anyway, there's a bit of a pullback right now away from open source. And I should say, actually, perhaps that same thing is happening elsewhere, in China. We can chat about that in some detail. But, you know, for NVIDIA, they live and breathe with developers and data scientists and those people that work with software. So they need to not just honor, but support that community that's driving so much
Mhm.
innovation in AI.
Well, developers, you can spread that out too, are the tip of the spear. I've said that for a long time. It's like, this is where the highest degree of innovation and the
Yep.
application of AI and the transformation of what that work looks like. If it isn't happening in other areas, but developers are just wired differently. They seek this stuff. They figure out what they can do with it. They're excited about it. They don't mind changing their jobs because they don't want to do the same
They
boring
want
stuff all
to.
the
They
time.
seek that out because they
Exactly.
don't want to write code or document it.
And they want to show their friends. They want to like go and be, hey, look at this. This is awesome. Yeah, put it up there. It's open source. It's whatever.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it still is, and I think it's going to be that way for quite some time. Now the
Thankfully,
builder community will expand, and I think
Yep.
that it's you can see. I was just talking to a salesperson this afternoon, and he was talking about, I like to make my job more efficient, and I'm not really a technical person, but I do think about ways I could do this. How could I not? It's like, yeah, you're a builder. You will have the tools to do this.
we're
Pretty
all
soon. Hang on
builders now.
tight. If you're not already there, and if you wanted to download OpenClaw, you could.
Well, because speaking of that, can we talk about OpenClaw? Can we talk about Multbook and OpenClaw?
Moldbook, yes. What happened?
So I
The
don't know.
social network.
I am still trying to wrap my head around why Meta would acquire that asset, because anyone who followed what was going on with that would certainly tip their head like a dog trying to hear and understand better, to say, well, wait a minute, wasn't this a bit of a scam? Wasn't this really just people trying to drive, this unrealistic vision of AGI, that these Claude bots at the time were all having a conversation on their own, and it wasn't actually happening. So don't know, but maybe we should put that aside and just talk about NVIDIA, who is jumping on the OpenClaw bandwagon pretty heavily
Yeah.
with GTC and their Nemotron and OpenClaw announcement, which to me, I saw that and I'm like, yeah, they're the ones to really make this realistic. And by realistic, I mean something that isn't going to cause immediate and irreparable harm to whoever uses it. That's what they're doing.
They're going to bring down the internet.
Right? Or your MacBook, or not MacBook, sorry, your Mini, your Mac Mini. Yeah, right.
So, here's what I think is interesting. One thing is that Jensen definitely got right, and he gets a lot of things right too. Of course, he tends to create his own reality, but last year MCP was the thing that was the viral, changed everything, right? Because it just opened up what you could do with Agent. It solved the problem everybody had. Everybody had tin can vegetables, but nobody had a can opener. And suddenly here's the can opener. Everybody jumped onto it, right? To make a really poor analogy. This year it's OpenClaw. And I think it's OpenClaw because what it's done is shown, it's dropped the barrier to get into the agent creation and management and do stuff with AI. Now, maybe it's not safe all the time or done well, and enterprise has a little different requirements, which is what Jensen went after with their offering. But everybody's dropping an OpenClaw offering, right? Or they're dropping something like it. So you talked about the work, Snow Work.
Yeah, right. That could be seen as very similar.
And Complexity Computer, and they're going to come out with personal computer version of it.
Or anyone using Ralph to have their agentic tooling do work on problems till they're done. That's the same thing.
We've gone into this. What was the utility knife everybody had to have?
Not the Swiss Army knife, but what came after that, the Leatherman multi-tool?
Yeah, Leatherman, that's what it was. Like everybody's got to have the Leatherman, right? You got to have my toolkit. And that, I think that's what this year is about, is everybody being able to start to exercise what this means to use it and create agents. I think the other part of it too, you didn't say it this way, but the edge is the new cloud. When did we rush out to buy Mac Minis for anything, or the latest edge computer for what? Maybe to do a LAN party, to do a gaming, but I mean, really, the fact that we have run on hardware to be able to do this stuff locally on your own, you don't need the cloud.
It is amazing.
Yes.
Do you know why that it actually works? It is because of software.
Well, yeah, there's that little thing called software, and it's
I don't mean just possible. I mean the reason why it's actually feasible is good software.
You're being real. You're making a real comment, not a funny.
I am. I am seriously. Like you think of OpenClaw is built on one of I think we were chatting about this a week ago about the Pi you know this rifle is mine, but in the form of an agentic harness, and OpenClaw is built on top of it. It's built on other ideas. It's built on the work of many people.
It is. I mean, that's kind of that shoulder of giants. Maybe they're small giants, but a lot of small giants. There were all and a
Adds
few
up.
big ones along the way. Yeah, exactly. So I think the sort of kimono's open, or the the barn door's open, and all the animals are running out and having fun in the pasture. Right? It is a good time, and what's been exciting for me is just in my own work. So you'll love this. I've saying this to you before. So it developed this framework, observability native, all around the premise that observability can't be an operations thing. If agents are going to build agents, and agents are part of all that workflow happening from spec plan all the way through deployment and beyond, whatever's beyond, it's everywhere. You can't just observe agents when they get into production. You have to observe the agents that are creating agents that are part of
Yeah.
the underlying fabric. And so I created these seven pillars and 4 steps in an agent operating cycle, and had folks like you and Fernando review it. So I gave my write up. It's not a spec, but it's kind of a definitional, foundational
It was
document.
very thorough, which to me is kind of a spec.
Well, thank you. I guess we can call it a spec. I hate to say that because somebody will look at it and say, "Oh, it's not a spec." But so I gave it to my agentic operating environment that I do development with, and it said, "Yeah, we're doing some of these things. We're doing 1, 3, and 5 already, and here's what we have. Here's the ones we need to address. Here's 2, 4, and 6. We can do those really easy. Here's what we need to go change, and then what we need to fix about it. 7's a little bit more challenging, but we can do that too." In an hour and a half, the whole thing was instrumented and implemented, all of it. Now, there was a lot of things built to your shoulder of giants. There are a lot of things already in place. But if I was
Yeah,
going to start
right.
from scratch as a fundamental architecture or requirement or spec, I wouldn't have had to do any of that. It would just be built in. That's the environment we're working in.
Yeah, it is heady. It is really, there are a lot of downsides to agentic work, of course. And we've talked about many of them here. But when I think about, what it means to be a builder, meaning somebody who creates something, and it could be anything, not just a piece of software even, but just an idea. Uh, remember when you used to sit down with your trusted friend and say, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's talk about it," and you would work through it and poke holes in it and whatnot. You know, that took time and opportunity, and it was, not fast, but we have like literally sort of collapsed the time to value, if you will, from idea to value to almost nil with these tools. And it's what that means. I don't know.
Well, so I think about these like you do. I think about these things a lot. And I was on a panel day before yesterday, and we are talking about the first mover advantage is shrinking, right? Because people quickly come
Yep.
out with their own version of OpenClaw or whatever kind of in their products.
Called the
In weeks.
10-day mover advantage.
Yeah,
That's
if
what we're
that.
talking about with
And
Claude
that's,
open
you
for
know, that's going to
over.
be, I think that's going to get shorter. Also, I think we're going to get to, maybe this isn't that far away, of, well, do I really need to maintain that code? Do I really need to modernize that code? Well, when
Ooh,
I want
yeah.
something, just rebuild it. I don't take the time to go and fix it, just rebuild it. Because we
Yes.
get better and better at building it. It's not like our skills are staying the same, or gradually incrementing and our skills increasing. It's if you follow the curve of models and how quickly they're improving, just how much Claude code has improved in, I say Claude code in 6 months. It's just like not even the same tool.
It's not. No,
Um,
it's not.
I think we're going to be a point where, software is just it's like mixing up a new batch of whatever. Okay, cool. We're good.
Maybe it's not even what we knew software to be. Maybe
Mm,
there's a paper I would love us to dig into and talk about that came
okay.
out recently that talks about using a directional acyclical graph, a DAG, to define basically an intent to outcome map, if you will.
Mhm.
And the idea behind it is to make that a deterministic system that uses a non-deterministic system, meaning a generative agentic system, to actually implement. So you have a fixed route and a fixed outcome, but the way that you get there, is up to the agents and the models. Um,
Uh-huh. Mhm.
so maybe, in that situation, back to what we were talking about with data integration pipelines, maybe you just have to say, I really would like, all of my, order to cash data from SAP, flowing into Azure One Lake. Uh, make it so. Number one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you're pointing to something too that also had a bit of an aha this week is there's the model of request response,
Mm,
linear interaction with AI. Do
yeah.
this, create that. No, don't do that. Do this instead, right? This sort of what I thought originally vibe coding was. And I don't know if vibe coding is a thing anymore, but I think the model really is about it's not a linear process anymore. It's letting AI figure out what to do. You might want to ask it, like the tools that I work with. I say is there's a relationship we have here. My goal is to get to agentic and understand how you're going to do agentic. So
Yeah.
I don't want it to be opaque. I want to understand, right?
Yeah.
And what it
Yeah.
caused me to do is realize that, oh, that worked good over there, but I forced it down a linear path here because I made it go do an assessment
I didn't
on a
give it
certain
right. I didn't
project
give
that
it
I
the
was working on.
freedom to maybe choose a better route.
Yeah. It said, "This is a table lookup. We don't need to do it. That's not what we're talking about doing here." So, well, how do we make it agentic? So I had to really step back and say, "I'm not going to tell you how to do it anymore. Tell me what you
Yeah.
want to do. I'll give you some direction. If I need to do it some point,
Yeah.
I don't have to
Yeah.
review that part of it. Yes, you do for security and other reasons, but it's a change in how we work and interface with AI. It's pretty drastic.
It is, and it's fairly recent. You remember how we were talking about prompt engineers as a job a couple of years ago, and this year, and then over the last year, we've been talking about context engineering, which is still highly relevant. Um, but
Mhm.
in the day, a year or so ago, if you worked with a model, you had to be very prescriptive, and you would use techniques like chain of thought, for instance, to help guide the model to an output. And what I found experientially is that the less data I give it, the less instruction I give it, sometimes the better the result, because I give it that freedom
Mhm.
to wander a bit, as you're talking about. There's an old Zen koan, or just actually a saying, not a koan, sorry, but it is a Zen Buddhist saying about, if you really want to keep your cattle, a horse or cows or whatever, don't watch them constantly. You know, just keep an eye on them every so often. You don't have to chain them up. You don't have to do anything. Just let them roam in the field, and they'll be okay. They're not stupid, mostly.
Mhm. Yeah, they may wander off the off the land here once in a while, but then go get them and bring them back, and
That's right.
not gonna
That's right.
stay there forever.
But if you're holding the cow, constantly, then you're not doing anything else.
Why don't we jump to our last segment?
Okay, it's time for the drop.
You had suggested the drop for this one too, Unsloth Studio. Ah, that
Yes.
sounds like,
Yes.
Prompt Fu, another great name. What is Unsloth Studio?
Yeah, it's yet another LM Studio, and yet another Olama. Do we need another one? Yes, we do. Absolutely,
Ah,
we do. Um, these are for those who don't use those tools, means for interacting with AI locally. And with Olama and ML Studio, you have a lot of great capabilities. A lot of control. You can use, the LLM or Llama CCP to do your inferencing, for example. Or if you're on a Mac, you can use MLX inside of ML Studio and run your models quite rapidly. But what those really kind of focus on are basically interacting with models as you would if you were logging into Gemini or Claude or whomever as a chatbot. What Unsloth is known for those of you who perhaps aren't familiar with them, they have been an early sort of proprietor of fine tunes and the tools that you would need to fine tune a model. And not just fine tune, but do all kinds of work like distillations and whatnot. And they put together a ML Studio style interface that focuses on or really elevates some of the work you might be doing with models, such as fine tuning. It's just one of many. And one of them, for instance, I'm quite anxious to try out is being able to they'll have what they call recipes, where you would have a recipe for creating triads for unstructured data. So I could feed it a whole bunch of PDFs, like presentations that we get from vendors, for instance, and I would be able to have it basically create a knowledge graph or just a property graph probably out of that with all the nodes and edges that are represented in that text from those PDFs. And there's a lot you can do with that, such as use that to fine tune models and generate refined data to do more work with that. And so it's for folks who are in the AI and data fields. This Unsloth Studio is just awesome, and I encourage everyone listening to check it out if you have it. It's you know it's just a UV pip install away for everyone.
Another example of taking what took massive resources and, in this case, data sciences to do, now making its way into everyone's hands, right? It'll become more and more accessible,
Yeah,
and more people. You too can train a model. Like you can train your dragon. Here, train your model.
right. Tame your dragon. Yeah, it's frontier models are critical, but they're not the only game in town, and we have seen research from early on that indicated that for more task specific, duties like named entity extraction, you would be absolutely wasting resources to throw that at Gemini or Claude.
Absolutely. Well, that's why things, Gemini Flash 1.5 is free. I mean, it may be rate limited or whatever, but it's free.
Yeah. Yep.
So, or you can run, Gemma on your own
Yeah.
hardware.
Right.
You
Yep.
pick your model, whatever it may be, NeoClaw if you got the right hardware. But that's
Nemotron. Speaking of
Nemotron.
NVIDIA.
Yes. Nemotron, exactly. So here's my drop for the week, and it's sort of a collection of drops that form a rainstorm. Now,
It's many drops, huh?
it's many drops. I wouldn't say I'm inundated, but every day I get either a briefing or multiple emails or signals from the stuff that find out what's happening out in the world, letting me know about it. Is you reviewed, and I'll be issuing the agent control plane framework document
Mm,
this week. Probably come out the end of this week, maybe first part of next week. And everyone is coming out with just like their studio or their claw or their whatever for building and operating agents. Now vendors are also starting to lay claim to, well, here's the agent control surface, control plane that has things like observability built into it,
yep.
security, governance, accountability, etc. So you know how you can not only manage it, but you know what your agents are doing, and are they fitting within the guardrails, and are they compliant? Can you do governance on that? Tricentis announced theirs for, they're a testing company. Okay, here's the agent control plan for what we do,
Yeah,
right?
that's
And I
brilliant.
can name a dozen that I think I've gotten hit with in the last week of people coming out with parts of that functionality, which I think is good. But the sort of great sorting, maybe the clone wars of the future are agent control planes fight for dominance and who's going to control the control planes. We'll see what what path that
Can't they
takes
all just
on
get
its way to
along?
Skynet.
Isn't there like a, open semantic interchange idea for agent control planes? There
That's
should be. Somebody
We
should
need
make
an
them.
agent control plane semantic layer. There you are.
Well, the OSI could actually work for that.
It
But
could actually.
they're not actively promoting it to do that, but it
That's
definitely
not.
could.
It is a model to build from to be able to
Hmm.
do that.
Hmm.
Sure. So I think the effect of that is you need that to be able to get AI into production. Enterprises won't let you take anything significant into production at scale unless you can govern it, control it, have
Yep.
accountability around it, secure it. So everybody is naturally doing that for their part of it. So their products and tools can get into production. Um, but I think it's also it is going to create some forcing function to sort that out. Okay, I can't have 50 of them. Maybe could have 5 to 10. Maybe I'd like 1 or 2 or 3. Where is that balance?
Oh
Maybe it's
boy.
maybe it's 20 because you have agents controlling the control planes. I
Don't
don't know
say
what it
that.
is.
That's way too many.
It's a
I
little
mean,
circular. There's a recursive programming example. Uh,
yeah.
Maybe it's a model that we're not thinking about yet. But that seems to be what's on the next horizon of, okay, I'm being overrun by control planes, folks. Help me out. What do we do here?
We need it. It's like, you have catalogs of catalogs. We need control planes of control planes.
Parts are made of parts. Yes.
Yeah,
The old,
it's all an abstraction game.
oh
It's
boy,
turtles
lots of
all the
fun.
way up.
Well, next week is RSAC, the week this will drop. So I will be there doing some live Textron gang videos there. What are you up to next week?
Next week I'm recovering from FabCon and getting ready to visit with Google in their conference at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm. Google Cloud Next. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's coming up. I'll be going to SusaCon in
That should be
Prague.
interesting.
And,
Um,
yeah.
with all the talk of operating systems being required to capture age verification.
Yeah, verification, lack of TSA people. Can you get back in the country? Hey, it's an adventure. Who knows? I mean, who knows but I'll be somewhere I can join by digitally to say hello and see what we're doing. I'm also going to the MCP Dev Summit,
Oh, I'm
which is
jealous.
hosted by the
Yeah.
Agentic AI Foundation, part of the Linux Foundation. Yeah, I was like, didn't even know it was happening, and they reached out, and I'm sure they'll be reaching out to you for the next one.
Do you think they'll have a session about what comes after MCP because we all over rotated on MCP?
That's my main thing is MCP going to stay this, or is it going to become what? What is it?
Right.
What is it?
I don't know. Yeah.
And I got to
If it's
believe,
just a lookup, maybe it's already past its sell by date. But if it's something else that hasn't grown into yet,
is it SMP version 2 waiting for version 3? Or is it like, no, we're going open telemetry here, full out. Let's kind of rethink this problem. We'll see. We'll see. I'm really excited to see what happens there. So, and we'll get to do the next one together. There's another one in the fall. I forget what it is. But I think that's in San Diego. So we'll find out what's happening there. So that's on the horizon too. So lots of great things happening.
Agreed.
Well, safe travels, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the FabCon, SQL,
Sequel
Cruncher,
con. Don't say that.
sequel. Oh, so sorry. Sequel. Sequel Quan. Enjoy
Wrath of
your time
Khan.
out.
Yes.
And safe travels this week.
Same
And
to you.
as you get ready to go and head into Google Next and while I'm heading out to San Francisco myself. So, well, thanks everybody. You survived another episode of Agents of Dev.
Congratulations, everyone.
And
thank
it
you.
is an accomplishment. So, we have participation awards for everybody. You'll get your prize soon. No, seriously, thanks for being with us for part of this discussion. Please reach out, follow, share. We appreciate everything you do to be part of this community. And we'll look forward to talking with you soon.
Control, this is Agent Dev. I'm in position.
Copy that, Dev. Stand by for go.
Standing by.